In this video, we're going to take one of our Christmas icon shapes, this is the reindeer, and we are going to decorate it. Now I said decorate, not paint, because we're going to do a little bit more than just painting it up. We're going to try to add a little bit of electronics to give it a 3D effect and to make it a little bit more visually interesting. But before we get started, I want to build a paint stand that I can place the icon a little bit higher so I'm not having to bend over on the work table to decorate it. So this isn't going to be anything fancy. I'm just getting some scrap wood. This is a 2x2. It's about 16 inches long and just a scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood. You can really use anything that you like, but this is just what I happen to find. What I'm going to do is cut an angle off of here, so we can glue our icon to it while we're decorating it so it's at eye level, and then I'm going to screw this to the base. So I cut this angle. It doesn't really matter, just add something pleasing so the object is facing you. This is at 22.5 degrees. You can do whatever, you can play with it and decide whatever angle you want. So now we're just going to need to find the placement of where I'm going to do the screws. Normally I would pre-drill the holes for the screws, but because I use Spazz construction screws because they work really well without having to pre-drill. But for this I want to know the placement of exactly where I'm going to be putting it. So I'm going to pre-drill it so I know where to screw from the back side of it. So we'll be drilling from the bottom with the screws coming up into the piece. So we want the screw to bypass this piece loosely so it grabs tightly to our 2x2 and pulls it down tight. You want to make the holes in the base about the same size as your bit. So if you ever want to figure out which drill bit you want, you just put your take your screw, put it in front of your drill bit, and if you can see the drill bit, that means it's going to be a little bit bigger. Now if you're pre-drilling for the screw to go into your item and want it to be tight, you don't want your drill bit to be thicker than the center of your screw, so you're subtracting out the teeth of the screw. Make it smaller, that way you're eliminating a lot of the wood, and that's how splitting occurs, is because it's trying to go through a solid piece of wood, whereas if you pre-drill, you're taking out a lot of that pressure from the screw. But these screws right here do really well about self-piloting themselves. We got a little bit of glue here because glue is technically stronger in some cases than most mechanical fastening. It will rip the wood before it rips the glue. Alright, we'll give that a few minutes for the glue to set, and then we'll move on to the next step. So like I said in the beginning, we're decorating our icon today. We're not just going to paint it. And by that, we're going to add a red nose to our reindeer to make it Rudolph. So what we're going to do to light it up is, I've got these tea lights here. This is more of the fancier light that is waterproof, that you can even float in pools for weddings and stuff like that. But it's just a little tea light that turns on and off. It's an LED light with some batteries, and it's got O-rings, so that makes it even fancier. So it's waterproof. And it takes 2 cell batteries. And you just screw it to turn it on. So what we're going to try to do is get this light, recess it into the back of our shape, and for the light to stick out as far as we can out through the front here. So it's going to take 3 different drilling procedures to get that. First, I want to drill a pilot hole from the front side so I can get center of where I want the light to protrude from. Then we'll flip it over. We'll use our Fastener bit and use that pilot hole that we created to drill not all the way through, but deep enough so that this light recesses down into the icon shape, and that way the light can protrude out to the front. Then lastly, we're going to use our bigger drill bit, probably from the front side, and this is the same diameter or a little bit bigger than our LED light, so that it will come, so we can push it as far as we can through without exposing the base of the light. Alright, now the fun stuff. We're going to get to painting. So this is long enough to set, the glue to set, so I'm going to clamp this. The reason why I had a bigger base, and I'll set it so I can clamp it to my work surface. Now we got to mount our workpiece to our stand, but I don't want to put any glues or anything on the back of it that might damage it. So what I usually do is I take some blue tape, put it on the back of whatever I'm working on. Normally I use CA glue, but for this I'm going to try hot glue on here because this is the end grain and it might hold a little better. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little trick. You don't want to wait for your hot glue gun to heat up and you just need to do a quick gluing. I just get my Zippo lighter. This is a butane lighter insert for my Zippo. Just heat up your glue stick and then just rub it. Need to melt a little bit more than that. Just gonna put a bunch of glue on there. Perfect. So the blue tape, we stick it on. So the reason I put the blue tape on the figure finish piece is because at the end you can just rip the tape off and it won't damage your finished piece, but the glue will stick to the blue tape and hold it. So there it's cooled, so it's stuck on there. So now we got our piece that's higher up to us so you can see a lot better if you want to get that detail. And you don't have to hold it too, because I hate trying to hold stuff and paint it. So that's why I wanted to show you how we make these simple stands. Now the other thing I haven't talked about yet is we're going to use a ping pong ball for Rudolph's nose. So we're going to have to paint that also. So we're going to glue that to our base. Actually, I'm going to glue this off to the side just in case we have some overspray. I don't want it to get on the nose. So I'm going to do it over here. I love this butane lighter insert, because it's just a regular Zippo and then they sell the insert for it. And then we're going to stick our ping pong ball in there. That's probably not necessary, but when you start spraying it, the ball's going to roll around and you're not going to be able to hold it. And I'm going to test it. I hope, we'll do it right now. I hope we can get the spray paint to lightly go on so it's still transparent so that the light can shine through. So I'm going to do a light dusting on it first. And that should be perfect. Alright, we'll let that dry. Okay, we're going to start with a little bit of satin ivory silk. We're going to start with the antlers first, because what I'm going to do is paint it, and then when I paint the brown for the body, I want to kind of overspray a little bit into the white. That way it looks like the fur is going over the antlers rather than the antlers going over the fur. That's the reason why we're starting with the antler colors. So we're just going to give it the edges a good paint first. Just give it a light coat. If you miss some spots, that's okay. You can always just come back within an hour and paint some more. The end grain of the MDF really soaks it up and it's going to look a little different. I'm going to have future videos on how to stop that. But for this project, we're not going to worry about it as much. We're just going to go with it and just paint, and it is what it is. But we'll have future tutorials on how to avoid all that. Okay, so after lunch, we went ahead and put the second coat on the antlers. I skipped ahead. We're going to use our cardboard to shield, and we're going to start putting our brown on, which is Kona, gloss Kona brown. So we're going to spray that on. Just to give a little bit of spray there up the antlers so it's not a line. Now what we're going to do is use our heat gun. I'd recommend using a hair dryer because this gets a little too hot, but this is all I've got in the shop right now. So we're going to turn that on and dry, help speed the process up. While we wait for the reindeer to dry, paint to dry, let's take a look and see how our nose is doing here. Let's drill a little hole out and then we'll stick the light in and see how well that comes through. That'll work. I think that looks pretty good. It's kind of bright in here now, but that should give the effect of a red nose. So the paint's still a little tacky, but we can move on to some of the ear detail while the rest of it's drying. That won't affect it any. So what we'll do is I'm going to make a stencil out of paper to spray with. I'm just going to first just make a stencil of what the ear shape is, just so we can just draw it, what we're going to cut out. So we have the ear shape that we traced right here. So where I want the spray paint to come, I think I want it to be like that. So this is the area that I want to have, probably make it white. I guess we'll just go with the white in the ear. Probably should be pink, but we'll just go with white. And since we're just using a piece of paper that's cut, it's kind of flappy like that, I'm going to put a little bit of tape and we'll fold it over to strengthen it up just a little bit. Could use thick cardboard, that might work, but this was what was close at hand here. See, some of that tape is going over our stencil, so we'll just cut it again. And I'll just put one more little piece of tape there. It's just to give it strength, that's all. We'll trim it up here. Alright. So now let's go back over to our deer. Now I've been using Rust-Oleum paint because that's just what I had in the shop. But I've started to transfer over to Ace Hardware's premium paint, mostly because of the tip that it has. You can rotate the tip to have your spray either vertical or horizontal, right there. And the spray pattern comes so much finer, and I've really come to like this paint, so I've used this more. This is just white gloss enamel. Lay our stencil down like that. It doesn't have to be laying right on it. It's hovering a little bit above, so we can get a little bit of underspray for a transition. There you go. That's one. Now we'll just flip it over and do the other side. Just make sure it doesn't touch, since we got paint on it already. There you go. We can fix that up a little bit, but yeah, just get a little bit of the detail for the ear. So we're getting to a point now we're going to have to let this dry before we can put any of the details on, like the eyes. But I did want to put a little bit of detailing on the bottom, a little shading on the bottom of the antlers right here. And we're just going to use a little bit darker color. This is khaki, and we'll see what that looks like. I do want to protect the rest of it so it doesn't spray on it. Put a little shield right there, and then just kind of a little bit of spray at the bottom of the antler there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Not much, just a little bit. There you go. So I pulled another reindeer out of my stock because I wanted to make a stencil for the eyeballs. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to do an upside down. I need to get basically what we're going to do is we're going to continue the muzzle up here, and then we're going to add the eyeballs behind it like it's looking at it. But I need this angle of curve, so I'm going to use the bottom here to continue it. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do an upside down stencil. We'll make our circle here, and that will be the top part of the muzzle. Like that. See, we're going to turn it around like that. So that's going to be here. And then we just need to do the eyeballs, which we're going to do. We're going to make them look like... And what we'll do, let's just do one. And we will fold it in half. How about that? And then we'll have to cut out one. We just gotta make one eyeball that we like. There you go. And then let me cut it out and I'll show you. And I did get my good scissors. I love these things. I think I got them at an estate sale. They're so sharp. And there you have it. There's our mask that we're going to put over and spray the eyes. So we're back at the reindeer. I've laid the stencil down. I think I've centered it. Not really sure, but let's get close here. I'm going to, looks like a ghost. Reindeer ghost. I'm going to use just something to hold the stencil down right here in the middle. We'll do one side at a time. Got my white. It won't. We gotta let that dry, and then we'll add the pupils, and then we'll add a little line on the bottom too. So that's the beginning of the eyes. We'll let that dry. We'll get some pupils on it. Good morning. It's the next day, and we've given our reindeer enough time to dry of all our base coating of the spray paint, and we're going to use a little bit of detail using a paint pen. I haven't tried this brand before. It's the Krylon Shortcuts paint pen. Really haven't found a good paint pen quality that I like, but we're going to give this a try and see how we like it. What we're going to do is use it to just create a little bit of definition around the eyes here, just to clean up the edges a little bit. I do like this paint pen. It has a chisel tip and a long, I don't know if you can see here. It's a chisel tip, and it has a long flat tip on it also. So you can do fine detail work and big areas. And the paint flow is pretty good too on it. It's not bad. Not bad at all. And we'll add the pupil here. Fill that in. I think we'll do the same for the ear, the inner ear. We're just going to do just a little detail, just a little bit. Perfect. All right. Now the last step, we'll just add what we're going to call electronics. I actually got the glue gun out for this project, so what we're going to do is just glue the top part of the light. We can turn it on and off by twisting the back, but we're just going to glue the inside part and stick it from underneath. So we'll stick it in that recess that we made earlier. Push it all the way through. There you go. I don't know if you can see the lights turning on. Let me get this stuck on there, and then I'll show you. So from underneath, you can see we just stuck the light into our recess. So the top part's glued to the body, but you still have access to turning the back of it to turn the light on and off. Kind of like a knob there. So that works out just fine for our purposes there. And then you can see the light coming through. So again, we'll just get our red nose. We'll put a little bit of hot glue on the back of it. And we'll stick it on right up over the light. And there you have it. We got our Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So if you like this Rudolph cutout and like to do one for yourself, go to our website at our sister channel at trail47.com/pop-up, and you can purchase your Christmas icon pack, and it has 5 different designs that you can decorate and create your own masterpiece. Stay tuned and we'll be having future videos on painting the other shapes. Remember the ABCs of making. Always be creating. Till next time.